Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am so excited to be here with you today. My name is Carmen Berkley. My pronouns are she and her. I am a Black woman with curly braids and a red top. And I am so excited to be here with you all today. I'm one of the vice presidents of programs at Group Health Foundation. I do want to begin this session today by grounding us and acknowledging the traditional territories we are on. For myself, I live in Bellevue, and I am grateful to be a guest on the traditional lands of the Coast Salish and the Duwamish people. Please feel free to add the traditional lands you are on in the chat. And if you don't know, I do hope you'll take a moment and use this as an invitation, as an agitation to learn more about the Indigenous people who have lived on and governed and stewarded the land for thousands of years. And I do want to remind folks to mute yourself. And I know sometimes it's hard, or sometimes you might accidentally unhit the mute button, but we want your cameras on and your microphones off. So one goal we have for today's session is that you all get a chance to meet the Group Health Foundation Programs Team. And so you can put some faces to some names as you begin to build relationships with GHF. Our team is so amazing, and they are made up of an incredible group that includes program officers, program managers, grant-making operations, and two pretty awesome vice presidents. You will get to meet our other vice president, Stephen, in a moment. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to them all now. So I'm Carmen. You will hear from today our Vice President of Programs, Stephen Cole-Schwartz. He's going to be presenting right after me. Kayla Davis is one of our program managers, and shout out to Kayla for helping plan this event. LiLi Liu. LiLi is one of our portfolio directors, and she's also going to be a speaker today. Jay Thomas. Jay is a program officer. He also helped plan today, and he'll be speaking at the session. Tony Nastio Johnson, program officer. He will be responding to you all in the chat. We also have Jerry Martinez. Jerry is a program associate, and he will be helping to respond to your chats in Spanish. Fatima Elmeric, program associate, and she's the person who helped you out if you contacted us over email. So say thank you to her, and she will be helping us in this session. Karen Cunningham, program officer. She will be supporting with gathering questions and helping with Q&A. Sewheat Asfaha. Sewheat is a grants and data administrator, and she's also one of our speakers today. Adelina Solis is a grants and data administrator. And we have three folks who are unable to join us today, but you will see them again. And they are Ruben Peralta, a program officer, Jorge Gutierrez, who's also a program officer, and Quinn McNichol, our grants manager. And our first speaker is my partner in progress. He is so excited to talk to you all today and give you a little bit more information about who we are. And he also makes a delicious roast chicken. Please welcome our Vice President of Programs, Stephen Cole-Schwartz. Hi, Stephen.
Hey, Carmen. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for having me today, everyone. And I'm so excited to see all these names, some of whom I recognize, some of whom are new to me. And I know we're going to get the chance to meet so many more folks all across Washington this spring. Group Health Foundation launched our first open call for proposals in 2019 when we were just starting our organization. In the first process, we heard from more than 680 organizations. And then when we launched our second open call for proposals in 2021, we got the chance to learn from another 410 organizations. We're so excited to be beginning this third call for proposals. Whether you're submitting an application for the first time or you've submitted a proposal before, we are glad you're here and we can't wait to learn from you. My name is Cole-Schwartz. I am a Vice President of Programs at Group Health Foundation. I am delighted to be in our office for the first time in a long time today. And I am a Caucasian man with a sassy mustache and a red sweater on. So that's my visual description today. As you get ready for your application, I hope that our proposal process tells you a few things about us. First, I hope it tells you that we are committed to organizations who reflect the communities that you serve. We think a lot about reflective leadership. We talk about it with organizations that apply for grants, and we write about it on our website. Our application will also ask you about it. We know that communities are experts in their own lives, and we believe that organizations should be led and governed by the people to whom they are accountable. The second thing I hope you learn from us is that we support organizations who share a commitment to changing the balance of power in Washington towards racial justice and towards equity. When we listen to community leaders, they tell us that what they need is big systemic change to the way our society works, to the way our public policy is made, to the ways that our stories are told, and more. If your organization works on any kind of change that increases equity and makes racial justice a reality, we want to learn more from you and your journey. Third, we're committed to funding organizations who we share values with everywhere in Washington. We're especially excited to learn about the places and the people where grants don't usually reach. We make grants in all 39 of Washington's counties and to dozens of tribes and tribal organizations whose homelands are part of what we now call Washington. The fourth thing I hope you learn from us is that we just want to meet you for who you already are. More than 95% of our grants every year are general operating support, including all of our community learning grants. They're flexible dollars that organizations can use to further your own missions the way that you see fit. Look, I love community learning grants. And I love that our organization gets this chance to learn together with you. We chose to do this as an open call for applications that allows everyone to share with us your hopes, your dreams for your community, and how you're working towards equity and justice. But the choice also has downsides. In a big process like this, we know already that we will probably only be able to fund 1 or 2 of every 4 or 5 proposals that we receive. That means a lot of people are going to invest time and energy to proposals that we aren't able to fund right away. Even so, I want to share this. Every application that we receive, we read multiple times with multiple staff members. Telling us about yourself and your community teaches GHF about Washington and about how we as an organization can get better in serving communities all throughout the state. It all informs our ability to do better over time. And second, if you don't receive a community learning grant in this first round, you might still be eligible for a different type of grant from the foundation. We will contribute more than $66 million to organizations throughout Washington this year. Community learning grants is only one part of what we do, but the proposals we receive inform all of what we do. Thank you in advance for giving your time, for offering us your trust, and please know it's our goal to be good stewards of all that you share. I'd love to invite Carmen back up to hand off and keep us moving with deep appreciation and gratitude for the time today, everybody.
Stephen, that was really beautiful. Thank you. And thank you for your honesty and your candor. And we're all invited to now call Stephen Sassy Stash Stephen.
That feels right. My mom is going to be very excited about that.
Thank you, Stephen. So, okay, we're going to do questions like this. Feel free to throw any questions that you have into the chat, and our team is collecting them. Some questions we might directly answer in the chat in English or Spanish. And if there are more complex questions, we might answer them at the end during our Q&A session. So we do encourage you to stay to the end. Next up, I am so excited to introduce to you all Tacoma's own leader, fantastic advocate, dad, musician, and it's his birthday. Please welcome Program Officer Jay Thomas. Hey, Jay.
Thank you, Carmen. Yeah, and I do, as I do approach another birthday, I'm feeling great and just blessed to celebrate another year. So thank you all for being here today. And as I was scrolling through and flipping through the pages of all the video and seeing all of you here, I was having a good day already, but seeing you all here today made my day even better. So thank you all for being here. And as I reflect on the power and the influence that's represented here, knowing that you all represent organizations, and even more than that, you represent communities. It's a great feeling. So thank you all for being here today. My name is Jay Thomas, Program Officer here with the GHF Foundation. I use pronouns he and him. I am a Black man. I'm wearing a black sort of sweater vest today with a white shirt underneath. And thanks to some of our staff, I have a nice, beautiful plant in the background today. So that's my background. So now we're going to walk you through the foundation's grant-making goals and the funding criteria that we'll use to award our community learning grants this year. So while serving in previous leadership roles in community organizations, I learned that there were some things that we needed to be successful that money alone could not buy, but that we could build for ourselves if we had the flexibility, the funding, and the support to do it. So at GHF, we carry the philosophy that organizations can build for themselves. And if we offer the right support at the right time, organizations will do just that. So through multi-year support to organizations, we want to invest in creating what we believe are the building blocks for advancing true equity and real change that transforms the balance of power throughout the state of Washington. So we're going to walk through a slide here, and I'm going to just kind of touch on these 6 areas here. The first is connection. So in conversations that we've had with many of our grant recipients, we've learned that communities know what they need. They have the knowledge, they have the experience, solutions to pursue racial justice and equity as they define it. So we want to help the organizations that we fund to center their work and community priorities in the experiences of the families and the communities that you serve. Second is resources. So in addition to connection, we want organizations to have greater access to flexible funding to pursue strategic goals and objectives, which leads to increased autonomy, more freedom, the ability to sustain change. So through our community learning grants, this year we will commit more than $15 million in the form of 3-year grants to up to 80 organizations. And there can be nonprofit organizations, fiscally sponsored projects that work in Washington and along its borders. Next is capacity. So another goal of grant making at GHF is capacity building. Multi-year commitments really allow organizations working in communities that are facing inequities to focus on restoration and healing over time. Our hope is that general operating support will enable grant recipients to effectively balance meeting immediate needs, such as what was presented to all of us during the pandemic, and building toward future growth and development. For example, some organizations we support have chosen to add staff positions. Others have invested in board and staff development, and still others in communications or technology. So we just want the groups that we support to have the flexibility to name and invest in their own priorities. Next is wisdom. So these grants provide us, as well as the recipients, an incredible opportunity to better understand the needs of organizations, their leaders, and their communities. And so by working alongside you, listening to experiences and gathering stories of impact, we hope to learn more about the critical needs identified by those most impacted by inequities. More about the efforts communities view as necessary to achieve equity, and how organizations like yours are progressing in their work to become advocates of systems change.
Did Kathy email you back about the shadow?
Next is influence. Another goal is to build power and influence. Our hope is that organizations we support will grow and establish themselves over time by increasing access to decision makers, becoming stronger voices and forces for the advancement of racial justice and equity in your communities, and building power for long-term ambitions around public policy and systems change. So last but not least is trust. And we really hope the organizations we support will build trust with one another, build trust with us and with the people in the communities that you serve. And we hope to see these agencies build powerful relationships by taking risks together and gaining knowledge through action. So those are some pretty big goals. And we know that they're not easy ones, but we are committed to them. And so we want you to understand that we're not sharing these goals to ask that you do anything additional. No additional work, or we're not asking you to expend any additional effort to reach these goals. We know that you all are already working very hard in your communities to change systems and change lives. So we wanted to share these goals with you today because they truly represent GHF. It's about us supporting and working alongside you, your organizations, and the communities that you serve. All right, so now we're gonna move forward and we're gonna talk about aspirations for funding. This is the point in the program where we kind of walk you through what we're looking for. What are the criteria for these grants? So we're gonna prioritize several things. I'm just gonna walk through them here with you. One is we're going to be looking for organizations that have been overlooked by or have had limited access to philanthropy and institutional funders. So we're interested in work that has not yet been supported by multi-year and flexible funding, as well as organizations that have just not had access to philanthropy. So newer or smaller organizations are certainly going to be encouraged to apply, as well as culturally specific, disability-led, indigenous, and multiracial, multicultural organizations. We believe those communities have been systematically, historically underfunded by private philanthropy. So we also seek to support tribes and established people of color and civil rights organizations because they also are disproportionately underserved by philanthropy. So next, we will prioritize organizations that are founded, led, and governed by people who reflect their communities. So we specifically assess the ways that a group's board, its chief executive, staff leadership, or volunteer leadership, we're looking for how those folks reflect the organization that you serve. Next, we're going to be interested in organizations that represent a place and or an identity-based community who are most adversely impacted by inequities. So for example, we seek to fund work by and for Black, Indigenous, and other communities of color, queer and transgender people, people with disabilities, immigrants, people living with low incomes, people involved with the justice system, and especially people who hold several of these identities. Places may include tribal lands, smaller or medium-sized cities, unincorporated areas, and rural communities. So we will also prioritize organizations and projects that are pursuing community-powered work. And as long as it advances racial justice and equity in Washington, that work could be organizing mutual aid, mobilizing people and organizations, developing leaders, reclaiming cultural practices, fostering connections, leading anti-racism efforts, engaging people in political education and policy advocacy, and the many other ways that communities build and express power. So we have some additional resources available to you. I will be dropping those in the chat at this time. All right, so finally, we want to hear from organizations that are determined to change current structures that uphold the status quo of who has access to social, political, and economic power. So we're interested in how organizations are working to challenge white supremacy and systems that have excluded or oppressed their communities. So those are the criteria that we will use to evaluate community learning grant applications. And as Stephen mentioned, we received several hundred last year. We expect to receive several hundred this year. And so we look forward to having conversations about how your organizations are meeting these criteria. And so now, to review with us how to apply for one of these wonderful grants, it is my pleasure to introduce Sewheat Asfaha. Hello, Sewheat.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sewheat, and I'm the Grants and Data Administrator. I am a Black person. I have curly black hair with a black turtleneck and against a white background. And today I'm going to be covering the logistics of submitting your grant application. Throughout this process, we really try to make it accessible. So if you have any access needs, please let us know at grants@grouphealthfoundation.org. We have a few options for submitting your application. The most direct option is our online form, which is on our website. We use a tool called JotForm. The form itself is 9 pages long, and it includes a request for your organization contact info, financial questions, and narrative questions, which my colleagues will cover in the following sections. All the questions on one page will need to be completed before advancing to the next page of the web form. We do have a PDF and Word document of the form on our website, so you can get a preview beforehand. You do not need to create an account to submit the JotForm tool. So JotForm allows you to save your work. On each page, you'll see that you can click the Save button at the bottom of the page as you fill it out. Once you click Save, you will receive an email that will link you back to your application. From there, you can continue working on your application responses. Once you click the Save button, you will see this pop-up message appear. You'll see that you'll be able to create an account through Gmail, but you can also save your work without creating an account. So be sure to click that small font that says Skip Create Account. Once you click this button, you will be asked to enter your email address. This email will be linked to the draft of your application. Please be sure to enter your email address correctly. If your address is incorrect, we don't have a way of recovering your draft application. So the last page of the online form will look like this. You'll see that you have a submit button. Don't click the submit button until you're ready to submit and your application is finalized. We don't have a way of undoing the submit. Once you click submit, you will be redirected to a page where you could download a PDF of your submitted application form. The primary contact who you listed in the application form will also receive an email with the PDF of your completed application for your records. So other options for applying are listed on our website. We have a Word document of the application in English and Spanish. You can download it and fill it out and email your completed form back to grants@grouphealthfoundation.org. We're happy to translate in other languages as well. So if you need the application in other languages, please let us know. If filling out the form or doing the online form doesn't work for you, please reach out to us and we can work with you to figure out other ways of receiving your information for this grant. We're really willing to be flexible and accommodating in this process. And just please let us know at the grants@grouphealthfoundation.org email and we can accommodate your needs. So now I'm going to pass it back to the really wonderful host, the lovely Carmen Berkley, to take us through this next section.
A lovely host. Why, thank you, Sewheat. Thank you so much. That was so helpful. And I do want to encourage folks. I'm looking at our chat. Tony, who's one of our incredible program officers from Pacific County, said in the chat, to not stress. I know that there are other foundations that you have probably worked with that make this process really difficult. And we are definitely not trying to look for a reason to discard your applications. We are excited to review them. We are also in the background organizing all of your really amazing questions, and we are going to try to get to all of them at the end. So please feel free to keep adding them into the chat. And if we are unable to answer any of your questions, you can always email our team at grants@grouphealthfoundation.org, and we are happy to answer those questions. But we do thank you for asking them. Okay, so I do believe we are about to call back up Jay Thomas, Program Officer, Birthday Man, but we are also going to be calling up LiLi Liu, our Portfolio Director, to take you on our next journey around clarifying the application.
Thank you once again, Carmen. It's my pleasure to share the stage at this time with LiLi. To Carmen's earlier point, I come to Group Health Foundation with many years of fundraising, grant writing experience, and I just cannot think of very many organizations, foundations that would take the time to walk you through the application questions and share with you what it is that we're looking for. Make sure it's clear. Well, that's what we're getting ready to do. So our final objective for this session is to walk through the application questions, to clarify the terms and the kinds of information that we're looking for. All right, so you're going to want to pay attention. This is important stuff. So before we get into the specific questions, I want to emphasize that our application is not like many others. We've made every effort, as has already been stated, to simplify it and keep the questions very straightforward. So I also want to note that while we have the word health in our name, that does not mean you have to write about health. And it certainly doesn't mean you have to convince us that your work is connected to health. Our work is about supporting leaders, organizations, and communities who are working to advance racial justice and equity, and to transform the balance of power in Washington State. So the application is divided into 6 sections, which we will walk through briefly. They are the basics, get to know you questions. We have some narrative questions, a couple of optional questions. We have financial questions and attachments. And then we have some organizational and leadership identity information. And so, LiLi, are you ready?
Hi, Jay. I am ready.
All right, let's
Hi,
do it.
everyone. Great. I am really excited, and it's such an honor to be able to share this time and the next set of slides with my partner, Jay. And before I get started, let me just do a quick introduction of myself. My name is LiLi Liu. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an East Asian woman with medium length dark brown hair. And although Jay and I didn't intentionally try to match outfits today, I'm also wearing a white shirt with a collar and a sweater vest, although mine has green, yellow, and lavender print. I'm sitting in front of a white background, and I'm also joining you from Seattle on the traditional lands of the Coast Salish, Duwamish, and Suquamish tribes. So as we dive into the basics of the grant application, the first thing you'll see in the application is that we ask for basics. This includes details about your organization or fiscally sponsored project, name and address, employer identification number, how it is legally organized, and contact information or primary contact. Oh, contact information for primary contact and authorized signer if they're different. Through community learning grants, we are able to fund 501c3 and 501c4 organizations, tribally organized nonprofits and tribal governments, fiscally sponsored projects of C3 and C4 nonprofits. As we move through some of these next sections, please know that we are sharing information for nonprofit applicants that may not always apply to tribal governments. So please definitely reach out if you have any questions. If you're a fiscally sponsored project, we ask you to provide your fiscal sponsors information along with contact information, so we know how to get in touch with follow-up questions. Or in the event of a grant award, we know who to send an agreement to at the end of the process.
All right, so the next section really speaks to the Group Health Foundation's interest in getting to know you. We really are interested in learning all that we can about applicants and potential grantees. So this next section is a few questions that helps us do just that. The first is a short description where we'll ask you to provide a 2 or 3 sentence description of your organization, including who you serve and where you work. Next, we'll ask about your mission and long-term goals. So what is the mission and what are the long-term goals of your organization? We want to provide some space for you to share that with us. Third, the community served. So who are the people, the communities, and the constituents that your organization is accountable to? And what are their hopes, aspirations, and needs? Right? We offer you an opportunity to share that with us. And then also stories. Stories are very powerful. So what do you wish more people knew about the community or the communities that you serve? Is there a story or a set of experiences you feel are important to share? That's the time and the space to do that.
We also are interested in learning about your programs and activities and how those connect to your long-term goals. We really want to support organizations for who you are and for what you're already doing. You don't need to propose a special project or ask for funding to do something new. We also ask about your thoughts and approach to any systems change work that you do. We know that there are lots of different approaches and efforts to address systems change at local, regional, and statewide levels. We believe that every community and every organization has access to different kinds of advocacy and systems change work. At Group Health Foundation, we're still establishing some of our own definitions and some of our own approaches. So we are actually hoping to learn about how this work exists for you, if that's work in which you're engaged. Finally, please let us know how you would use grant funds and how it would help to advance your goals.
The next section, we present a couple of optional questions that we invite you to answer if you'd like. So as has been mentioned already, we are a learning organization. And so that's the purpose of these questions, is to help us learn even more about your organization if you're willing to share. So one thing we want to know is about partners. Do you have any especially close or deep partnerships that are critical to your organization's work? If so, who are they? And what are the efforts that you all are working on together? And then the next optional question is, we want to learn from you beyond funding, what other types of support might help you and your organization build and do the work that you're doing, and why?
The next set of questions are focused on financial information. In our experience, funders and foundations often ask financial questions that are overly complicated. We prefer simple, straightforward information. What do you think your income is going to be this year? What do you think your expenses will be? And what do you think you'll have in the bank at the end of the year? We also ask a couple of narrative questions that invite you to tell us more about what you think your projections are for your revenues and expenses in the year ahead. Again, in our experience, this is much more helpful information than detailed budgets that funders sometimes ask for and demand that you complete in particular ways. Our hope is that we can get to know you through this practical information that you already have on hand about your organization or fiscally sponsored project. Next is we ask from standard attachments. Your most recent tax filing for nonprofit organizations, otherwise known as your 990, which provide helpful information for us to understand the picture of where your organization has been, so we can better understand where you're going. Please note again that this information is for nonprofits, which does not apply to tribal governments. So please, again, reach out if you have any questions. Finally, if you're a fiscally sponsored project, we're looking for an attachment of your agreement with your fiscal sponsor. This essentially confirms that everybody understands the relationship and that the fiscally sponsored project is invited to use the tax status of their fiscal sponsor.
All right, so the last section that we're going to cover is organizational and leadership identity. And so this is a series of questions that we ask about your organization to help us learn where you work and who you serve, the staff and leadership demographics, the lived experiences and identities of those that you serve and those that work with you, and how your organization describes itself. To assist you in completing this portion of the application, we have a definitions appendix that's included in the application guidelines. and in the Community Learning Grant FAQ section of our website.
All right, I feel like Jay and I have covered a lot here. And so we're at a point now where we just wanted to recap some important dates. As many of you know, we launched the open call for proposals last Thursday, March 10th. And as Carmen mentioned earlier, in terms of next steps, we will post the recording from today's first session to the Foundation's website in a few days. There will be 2 recordings available with English and Spanish captions. We also plan to update the frequently asked questions section on our website. It will be based on the questions you've asked today, as well as those that are sent to the grants@grouphealthfoundation.org email, if they haven't been answered already. So please take a look. This information will be shared in an email to everyone who registered to be with us today. And as I said, you're always welcome to check back on the website for updates. Our second and final information session will be on Thursday, March 31st from 10 to 11 a.m. And registration will be open within the next couple of days. Please know, though, that there's no requirement to attend. If you feel confident about the application process and the questions that we are hoping that we've asked, and that we're hoping to learn about you, please submit as soon as you're ready. For those of you who are interested in joining us on March 31st, that session is intended to build on the information shared today. So please encourage anyone who wasn't able to join us here to watch one of those videos if they can, if they choose to attend on the 31st. During that hour, you'll have the opportunity to ask clarifying questions about the application process in smaller groups, led by and hosted by members of the programs team. However, please know that this session is not meant for organizations to get specific feedback on your applications. We'll just try to answer big picture questions similar to some of the ones that we're about to take a look at next. The open call will conclude on Thursday, April 7th, with proposals due at 5 p.m. Please note that this is a hard deadline and we won't be able to accept late applications. We'll be reviewing all proposals with multiple reviewers in our organization. We're a small growing team, so it will take us a little while to get through what I think Jay and others have talked about is maybe a pretty significant volume of applications. Our hope is to make funding decisions by late July. Now I get to hand it back to Carmen, our lovely host.
Thank you, LiLi. Thank you, Jay. I want to call up Stephen and Sewheat because we've got some questions to answer, y'all. First of all, thank you all so much for asking these questions. And we had 19 questions that came from registration that we know we will not be able to answer everything, but we will update our website and we will be accepting emails at our grants @. So I want to say that before we even get started. Okay, team, rapid fire. First set of questions are general questions and questions about previous years. Is there a list of previous organizations who have received funding through grant cycles? Stephen?
Yes, that list is available on our website. You can link to it from our Community Learning Grants page.
And while you're off mute, Stephen, there were a number of folks who have been grant recipients of ours before in 2019 and 2020 and maybe 2021, and they're interested in understanding, should they reapply if it's almost time for their grant to be up?
That's a great question. The folks who received the first round of community learning grants just received their third payment and are beginning your third year. So you will be eligible to apply for renewal next year, not this year. This year will only be new awards.
Okay, last question. This is for you, Stephen. Is there a limit on how many times an organization can get a grant? So like if you got it in 2019, can you never get a CLG grant again?
We are going to welcome organizations to reapply for new grants next year, and there is no set limit or predefined limit on how many community learning grants you receive from Group Health Foundation. If that changes in the future, we will be sure to let our grantees know.
Thank you, Stephen.
With lots of heads up.
Okay, LiLi, you're up next. So there are some organizations that have not yet arrived at their reflective leadership goals, but they're hoping that this funding might help them get there. Would you encourage them to apply?
Absolutely, yes. I think that all of us recognize that organizations, even ourselves in our own organization at Group Health Foundation, none of us have arrived truly, I think. And so for those of you who are just, who are working and who are working hard toward your goals and the aspirations of your communities, please, we want to learn about you. We want to learn about what you're doing. So yes.
Thank you, LiLi. Okay, same question, more questions for you, LiLi. You might as well just stay off mute. So for organizations with leaders or organizations that center disability justice or folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities, would we encourage them to apply? Are they weighted differently? Is that a target community that we're looking to fund?
We are looking for organizations that are reflective of their communities. There are so many organizations out there that are doing this work that are led by leaders from their communities that we want to know. And we invite organizations that identify in different ways to share with us what your lived experiences are and to know how that experience is relevant to your organization's work. Does that help answer that question? Was there a follow-up?
No, I think that that's right. So I think the answer is we definitely want folks that are working with disability justice or have disabilities, intellectual or developmental, to apply. So, okay, Jay, I've got a question for you, and it's about location. It's a big one.
Oh.
Ooh, you ready?
Well,
So there are a lot of questions about location. I'm going to put them all together. So some folks heard that we prioritized outside of King County. So I think there's a couple questions. One is, if you are in King County, should you apply? That's question one. Question two is, I think folks saw some priority counties or areas on the website, and they're wondering, would we ever consider funding organizations that are outside of the counties that we listed on the website?
Oh, yes. Great question, Carmen. Thank you. So the answer to the first question is yes. If you are in King County, we want to hear from you. We know that there is a rich, diverse communities and organizations in King County that are part of our state's history. So yeah, we want to hear from you. And then as was mentioned earlier, we have identified a number of counties in the state where we feel like we can do a better job of making sure they know we're here and learning about those communities and reaching out to them. So we are doing that. And if you're in one of those counties or any of the other counties, we, as Stephen mentioned earlier, we fund and support in 39 counties. And so if you're in Washington or along the borders, we want to meet you, we want to learn about you, and hopefully support you.
Oh, thank you, Jay. Okay, stay off mute. I think Tony might have answered this in the chat, but just to say out loud, can tribal governments apply as the lead entity, or do they need to partner with a 501c3 or a 501c4?
The answer to that, I believe, is yes. They can apply as a tribal entity.
And we are excited for them to apply as a tribal entity. Okay, Jay, one more question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to have a health focus to apply?
No. No. As I mentioned before, our work is about racial justice and equity, transforming the balance of power throughout the state of Washington. So no, do not feel like you have to present or build or show or present anything that has to do with health. Because our work is, as I mentioned before, racial justice, equity, and transforming the balance of power in our state.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Stephen, I'm coming back to you.
I'm ready.
So there are some folks who applied last year and they're wondering, can they use that application from last year or should they completely reapply?
I think you're really that's at your discretion. We would welcome folks to submit very much the same application as they've submitted previously this year. If you feel like that is a good sort of overview and exploration of your work, we'd be happy to receive that. If there are updates that you would like to submit alongside that, or just submit something completely new, we would welcome that as well.
Awesome. So Stephen, you're going to get the next one, which is, so some organizations are fiscally sponsored. And so they're wondering, should they put like the board demographics for their fiscally sponsored organization? Or like, how should they approach answering that question?
Great question. We would invite you to share about the leadership of your fiscally sponsored project, not the fiscal sponsor organization.
Got it.
In those demographics.
Okay, a couple more for you, Stephen. So some organizations might not have a senior staff. They might have some part-time folks or volunteers. How should they fill out the staff section?
Yeah, so I think that this is really going to be at your discretion. And so the number one thing to know is that there is a narrative box in the application that if our questions just don't make sense to you, you can tell us how you filled out the application in that section in a way that reflects how your organization is structured. So just tell us whatever choice you make. If I were in those shoes that you just described, however, Carmen, what I would do is I would list out my board demographics. And then if there are key board members who serve the role of staff, like really key volunteers, people who are going like that extra mile to kind of serve that executive role, those are the folks I might list as senior staff, but explain that they're not paid staff.
Got it. Okay, I'm going to try to ask you two more questions, Stephen, because I know you like these ones.
Hit me.
Okay. Are these grant dollars restricted or unrestricted? And are these private, state, or federal dollars?
Unrestricted, private dollars.
Yum. Okay. There are some organizations who are asking, like, what's the range date of activities? And I think that, you know, we like a little general operating. We don't want people to be coming up with new things just for us, but is there anything else you'd say about that, Stephen?
We just want to meet you for you. And the grant award will start in the summer of 2022, and it will be a 3-year grant award. So it will begin on very likely July 1 will probably be the start date. But the thing you should know is that because it is an unrestricted award, we will not ask you to spend your money on any particular thing, as long as it's advancing your organization's mission and purpose, and we won't expect you to spend it in any particular time frame. We really believe in general operating support.
Awesome. Okay, I'm pushing it on the time. Thank you all so much. We will be updating our questions online. We definitely want to encourage you all to check out grouphealthfoundation.org. We will put this video up here. If you have questions, you can contact us at grants@grouphealthfoundation.org, or you can call us at 1-866-389-5532. For more information on FAQs, please visit the link that we're dropping in the chat for you. And don't forget, you can apply anytime up until our deadline. So if you want to do it today, do it today. We are excited, but don't miss the deadline. And we do want to give a special thank you to our entire team because they are amazing. Our team at Synchronicity, our captioning team, our ASL team, our Spanish interpretation team. And we want to give a huge thank you to all of you. Please feel free to fill out our survey in English or in Spanish. We would so very much appreciate any feedback that you have for us. And thanks again, y'all. We hope you have a wonderful day.